Hey, George.
Naja.
How are you?
Well, we're back for another episode of Pants on Fire.
We're back.
I mean, we're going to be back. What were you doubting we weren't going to be back?
Absolutely not.
Okay, then we're back, bitch.
Liar, liar, pants on fire. Liar, liar, pants on fire.
This week we have a very special guest to me. I mean, I know her. She's a darling. Let's just say we've had some cocktails. Skye.
Yeah.
Skye Ostreicher, but known straight up Skye. She's dubbed the political personality here in New York. Everybody knows her. There's no politician in New York that does not know her name. It's like insane. And it's cool to bring her on to have this little conversation because it's how does she navigate the world of divided politics in such a nonpartisan way?
Right. First thing I noticed about her is Skye can dress her ass off.
She's a fashionista.
Skye
Total.
looks amazing. She
pulls off Tool.
Skye puts that shit on. Like, she looks amazing. So I'm really interested to ask her about that. Of course, we'll talk about the political stuff. I want to know how she navigates the stuffy rooms, walking in looking like she does, saying the things that she does. So I'm really interested to get to know the human, the woman, the person that humanizes everybody else. I want to see who she is. So I'm excited.
We have Skye.
Hey, Skye.
Hi.
Skye.
So
why is it Skye, not Skye Ostreicher?
Because the same way like Madonna, Rihanna, Cher, Beyonce, I don't need a last name. It's
That
just Skye.
was literally how we met.
So that's the one-liner. Like, why Skye? You're like, that's all it needs. That's all it takes.
Yeah, literally. So we meet first, 2020, I think, or was it 19? I don't remember.
Yeah, when you were first running.
When I was first running for office, and she reaches out like, I want to interview you. I'm like, who the hell is this Skye girl? But whatever. So we get on Zoom, and I go like, Skye. I'm like, Skye what? She's like, doesn't matter. There's Madonna, Beyonce, Cher. And she goes, I'm like, oh, okay, Skye.
Okay, Skye.
I was just like, okay, girl, it's not.
I love it.
I didn't mean it any other way.
I love it already.
So let me ask you a question. It's great to have you here on Pants on Fire, by the way.
Thank you for having me.
This is so fun. And I've been on the other side of the mic with you. So it's great flipping of the table here.
Yep.
So I've been in the room where it happens with Skye Ostreicher.
You have on my pink couch in my apartment.
Yes.
I want to know, like, how was it interviewing him? Because I see him on this side. What was your first impression of him?
Well, when I first met you on Zoom, he told me his story, and my whole thing was getting to know candidates for who they
what
are.
story did he tell you? Because
we just like why I
all
was
kinds
running.
of stories.
Okay.
You know, George, he goes from topic to topic, and then before
I'm
you can
very
think of a
ADD.
follow-up question, we're on to the next thing.
Yeah.
And you're like, wow, and he's very articulate, and everything he says makes sense. So you're just like, wow, that was really impressive. And then I saw you out a couple times, and then we did another interview together. And then
At El Baco. The famous
yes, that's
El Baco
right. That's right. When you were
restaurant,
first elected.
Yeah.
Exactly. We went in person.
She
at
got
El
a lot of
Baco.
first sodomy, by the way.
really?
Yeah.
So then the New York Times story breaks about George and the alleged liar, Jewish, all these things.
Yeah.
So I call him up and I say, are you okay? Like, I'm reading this slam piece on you in the New York Times. Like, are you okay? And he's like,
I'm in the Poconos.
but you said
like,
to
I'm
me,
unbothered.
you were there, and you said, Skye, when I'm ready to share my story on camera, I promise I'll come to you first. And he did. So
I went to a small independent journalist.
You kept your word. That's
Yeah.
what
I
you
always
did.
do.
That's
I
what
always
you
do.
did.
He did.
I always do, especially with the press. Not one member of the press can say that I've ever done them wrong. I always tell them, you will get this, you get this.
So that was on Zoom too, and it was like Christmas Eve.
No, it was the day after Christmas.
Whatever it was, no one was working, and I was working.
And the whole world stopped.
Yeah, so I did this Zoom interview.
Well, you're Jewish. You would be working on Christmas and eating Chinese food.
But still, I'm saying like the
It's a
media
holiday
cycle,
season,
right? But it was such a hot story. And then I had 24-hour lead time. You told me you weren't going on Fox News with Tulsi Gabbard until the following night. So then I pitched all the producers and media on all the national stations. And I said, I have this video with George. Please credit my name. Here's the key sound bites. Here's where he says all these things. And that's what they used. And I appreciate to this day that we've maintained that relationship.
Yeah, no, Skye's definitely a New York who's who person.
Yeah.
So let me get into this. Skye, how do you go from essentially you were married and you were, and I don't want to say this to be demeaning, but like you were a housewife, like trophy wife. I mean, look at you, right? And then you decide to not be married anymore. Is that, if I'm not mistaken, you're divorced, you're single, single AF. Any advice on not getting married super young to any girls out there?
Well, I think a lot of people, they do what society tells you you're supposed to do, and it might not even be conscious. It's like subconscious. That around 30, you find the person you're supposed to be with,
your eggs
fall
are
in
dry.
love. Yeah, society tells you this. You're not going to be able to have kids.
When you got married?
I was 29 when I got married, and I was 31 when I got divorced. And it took like a whole year to get divorced. So I was officially divorced at 32.
How long were you dating?
We only dated for a couple months, and then we moved in together. We got married, but it was exciting because it was like I was the first one of my friends to get married, and I wasn't the boyfriend type. So it was like all of a sudden I'm in this relationship.
Princess.
And it gets exciting. You know, when you're in it, all of a sudden you get the ring on your finger, and it's like, this is it. You don't even question it.
A couple of months, though. I think at this point,
one of my girlfriends just did that. She was dating for 6 months and got married on November 1st, and I'm still trying to figure out what the fuck happened.
So
it works sometimes. Sometimes it works, and sometimes it doesn't.
Probability shows that it's probably not, because we're just total strangers getting together. Looking back, and I think I kind of know the answer to this, what would you have done differently, though?
Well, I think the person that I am today would not have married the person that I married in 2019.
Okay.
And I think there's a lot of people out there, when I look at other women or even men too, who don't really know who they are yet, and then they get married.
Excuse me.
Anyway.
The tea was too good.
But like now I have my own business. I'm an entrepreneur, and I feel like I demand a certain level of respect, maybe that I didn't demand in 2019 when I was like a low-level lobbyist working at a firm. Like I was one of the youngest employees. And I was sort of like doing, again, what society tells you have to do. You're supposed to work hard. You're supposed to get married. You work 9 to 5. You buy a house. You have kids. Like, this is what you're supposed to do. And I think a lot of women who get married are in that situation, and they might not have even fulfilled or reached their potential in their professional life and in other areas.
So okay, holy crap. But how do you take all of that and then say, fuck you to the man? I'm out. We're done, right? I've been that person because I broke up with someone and I said, fuck you, I'm taking the dog. So how do you take all that and you spin it into what you've become now? Like, you're the go-to person for politicians. You are the most unexpected, unlikely visual person that I would say, oh, she's really connected to politicians. You're pretty, you're young, you're outgoing, you're modern, you're hip, you're the it girl. Like, you check all the boxes for that, but you're freaking hanging out with a bunch of old politicians. Can you imagine? Imagine if she's talking to politicians who think Facebook is a book full of faces.
Is it taxing? What does it do to you mentally, socially, to be in these particular circles?
Well, I started doing this when I was 22, and I was living on Long Island. I was getting my master's at Stony Brook. I had just graduated college a year early from University of Miami, so I was living at home. I did a double master's in public health and public policy, and I signed up to go to the Association for a Better Long Island, the Long Island Association, like all these different events that you can go to for networking breakfasts and cocktail parties. And I was
the famous rubber chicken and salad dinners. Yeah,
but I was the youngest person in the room by far. So for a lot of people, it was like, who is this young girl? And yeah, she looks pretty and fashionable and fun. Like, so it was easy for me to introduce myself. Thank you. But it was easy for me to introduce myself and get to know some of these people. Now, fast forward, it's been 12 years, and a lot of these people are still running organizations.
And you're still young and fashionable.
Are you old enough to even have a 12-year career?
I'm 34, and I started when I was 22. Yeah.
That's actually pretty impressive. You know what? When I start thinking nowadays, like, oh, I've been wearing contacts since I'm 13, and then when I stop and I do the math, holy shit, that was 23 years ago. I'm like, for a moment, you have like that pause, like, wow.
That was a long time ago. So how does it feel, girl to girl, woman to woman? You're in these spaces, and there's a certain phenotype, and it's not girls like you, especially back then, you know, when you first started. So how does it feel to be in those spaces? And I do want to talk about some uncomfortable experiences that you might have had.
touch you? That's the question.
No one's of course people say inappropriate things, but I think everyone says inappropriate things. So
Not everyone, but
a lot of people.
Everyone.
Like my dad says inappropriate things.
Your dad's amazing, by the way. I see your videos with your dad. Why do you have so
Thank
many
you.
stuffed, Dad? I don't know. I just have him.
So can we? I mean, obviously, you can't tell names, but is there an experience that sticks out in your mind of you just meeting a complete
Which
asshole?
politician touched you?
No, it's not that. It's that, when I was this young lobbyist and I would walk into the boardroom with the principals of my firm, and I'd be there really to take notes essentially. And the client sitting across the table all of a sudden wants to engage me in conversation despite what's going on politically at the table. But Skye, I saw your Instagram post about your handbag. Is that your new handbag that you just got? Like things like that.
They're paying attention.
But then I use that to my advantage. That's when I started my Instagram handle, The Fashionable Democrat. And that was an ode to fashion and being a registered Democrat. But it also was a play on words. Like a fashionable Democrat is someone that can also speak to Republicans.
Isn't there a girl here in the city that does the opposite of that? Like the conservator or something like that?
Yeah, there's a few of because that's what they say also stereotypically. It's like Republican women are more beautiful like on TV and as newscasters, right? But that's also the Latino news too. The women look so beautiful on television.
Let me ask you a quick question. Because the moment I think of a Democrat operative, I think of that girl who completely divorced herself from all things vanity. Her hair is in a bun. She doesn't know what a skincare routine looks like. Her eyebrows are becoming unibrows, and she wears thick glasses and sucks on her braces.
Who made this image?
Yeah,
that is literally.
Says that?
Go to Washington, D.C., and you'll see that all over the place. So how do you break that mold?
I mean, I love fashion.
Clearly.
So, like, even my blazer, I'm wearing a blazer, but the inside of the blazer.
Oh my God!
Look at her plugging.
Can we
Plug
pan? Can we pan on that? That is amazing.
Plug.
But this is my blazer. Like, I put my logo on my blazer. You can do the same thing with this. It's just a way to
custom make that for you, or
yeah,
did you buy a suit?
This is a friend, Gina. I actually met her on Instagram. She designs custom fashion.
Where's Gina?
Shout out to
Midtown Manhattan.
Okay.
Oh,
but like
Gina.
another example. So I had this idea of combining fashion and politics. So I created this idea, style across the aisle.
Which, by the way, you killed it.
Thank you.
When you called me about 60 days prior and said, I have this idea, I'm pitching it, and it's gonna stick. 60 days later, style across the aisle happened. I'm like, she got the funding because you said you needed a significant amount of cash.
Yeah.
She funded it. She got designers. Tell us about that.
So style across
Especially
the aisle.
the funding part. The women are always so interested.
Fundraising.
Yeah.
But the concept was elected officials model the runway wearing designers from their districts.
Oh.
So all of a sudden the concept took
and
wind.
the officials got to look snazzy.
We
for
ended
a
up
night.
having 30 models, 30 elected official models.
Barely models.
Was there anybody
sure.
that was surprised that actually said yes to showing up to doing it?
I think that everyone said yes. Everyone who I asked said yes.
What was your biggest surprise? I mean, I was shocked to see a few people on that runway.
I mean, we had the Suffolk County District Attorney,
That
Ray
was shocking
Tierney.
to me.
When you think of him, that was during the time, like he was becoming famous in People magazine for the Gilgo Beach killer. Like this is someone, Justin Timberlake had just got arrested with his DUI in Suffolk County.
Know who he was.
Yeah. This was Ray Tierney, like a big deal. And all of a sudden he's a model on the runway. And he was like, Skye, I'll do it for you. And that was people's attitudes. Like even the Inspector General of New York State, Lucy Lang, same thing. She's like, Skye, I wouldn't do this for anyone, but I'll do it for you.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess it's like people are doing it for me, but it's also a great opportunity. It was bipartisan. We have Republicans and Democrats walking the same runway.
Yeah.
And they were people, and people got to see them out of their comfort zones. Like who would ever think that a politician could be
It's just a human
model?
being.
So I gotta ask, what was your favorite look on the runway?
I mean, did you see Vicky Palladino's look?
That was your favorite look?
So, we're on New York City Parkland.
Yes.
She's standing there with this long, like, Cruella de Vil cigarette holder.
She looked like Cruella de Vil. I mean,
and
if
I'm
there
like,
was
is that
ever-
a real cigarette?
Was it?
You fucking bet it is. And I'm like,
she's look, I know Vicky. She's definitely a character, right? She's very animated, but I thought it was so interesting to see like You really pulled it off.
Yeah.
Would you do it again next year?
I would love to do it again. We did it at Gracie Mansion. The people
Would you do
found
it at
where the
Gracie
mayor
Mansion
lived.
again?
And this was like a week before the mayor was indicted. So
Well,
the
he
timing,
had COVID that week.
Right.
So he wasn't there.
Oh, no, he didn't go
He
'cause
was
he had
quarantining
COVID.
inside
Yeah.
the mansion. So we did the fashion
So he
show.
didn't get
and
to
the-
model.
Yeah.
That would have been cool.
Although he has a style, right? Doesn't New York City have a brand? It's Inditish. Hey, I'm speaking from experience.
Hey, imagine it at the White House.
That's what I was thinking. Because
From
you said
different
all the
states?
Democratic women.
Well, granted the current circumstances of the White House, I can probably help with that.
They're going to come to you for fashion advice?
Girl, have you seen DC?
So,
I was
but
as
you
good
said
as it
something
got.
that was, you said something that was so shady. You said the Democratic women, hair frazzled.
I'm not saying
racism.
women, I'm saying operatives.
Who in particular are you talking about? You're
I-
asking her to name names.
You
Can
know
you
what?
name names?
I worked in I'm not naming names because there's no names to name. I'm talking about the nameless people that would walk by me that were insufferably dressed or
So you
that's
just
what they call
assumed
dress.
by what they had on that they were.
Oh no, I know they were because they were usually gaggling with, a Democrat member. So it's just very, very.
I think you're being really biased.
You
right
really
now.
you can't judge people.
He's
If people
being-
judge me,
Oh, no,
this pretty
people
young
judge
girl,
me.
what does she know about
Wait.
politics?
I can't judge people. The entire world judged me. Guess what? I'm a judgy bitch now. Like that's it. Like if you dish it, you gotta take it.
You can
Okay.
judge people, George.
Like,
You
I've
are allowed to
I've
judge
earned
people.
the
You've
right to
earned the
judge.
right?
Fuck yeah! After
Okay.
I was judged by the whole world,
I didn't judge you.
girl,
I didn't hear about it though.
girl,
I didn't know.
Go-
So. But
you lying.
But
Pants on fire. Light her pants on fire.
he's rubbing off on me.
Barone, can you set her on fire?
I'm keeping tabs. Don't worry.
Okay, thank you.
He's rubbing off on me. I did.
Yeah,
I did just
uh-huh.
lie though.
Yeah, of course you
I
did.
heard about it.
Yeah, bullshit.
I heard about it.
Okay, Naja,
Okay,
you
anyway,
heard
go
about
on.
it. You wish you just heard about it. It was all up in your face. I
Not
transcend
in my-
politics,
not in
girl.
my circles.
I transcend politics.
You do.
Thank
and now
you.
we're here. Hey, Skye, back to you.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Back to you.
And what it comes down to, like, is really the people behind the politician. Who are you really? And how do we humanize who we are?
Well, Skye, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
We just went through a super controversial election cycle. Politics is your life, right? It's impossible to not have a sit down with you and talk about politics. So let's talk politics,
Okay.
right? Briefly, you're a Democrat, I'm a Republican. These days, I really go more independent. I'll give you a little something that I haven't told a single mumbling soul, but I went Donald Trump and then Democrat. I resent Republicans in the House of Representatives very much. Great example of that is Henry Cuellar, who is indicted currently, got elected by his people because it's a people's choice to decide when you go, not a bunch of assholes like
it was for
like
you.
it was for me.
Yeah.
What do you make of how politics and the cult of personality in politics has shifted? And politicians are all about self-aggrandizement these days, more so than they are about actually serving people.
I think that what we saw this election is really a referendum on that exact issue. I think that people want someone to be honest. Look at the way that Trump sat down on those couple podcasts he did where he just spoke like this for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, and you got a real feel for who he was. It wasn't editorialized or edited in any way for any news station. I don't think Kamala did any interviews like that where it was just free-flowing school of thought, where it was just having open-ended conversations. I think, unfortunately, what we're seeing in the terms of the mainstream media is a lot of that. It's biased. It's cut. Someone will be interviewed for a broadcast news station for 10 minutes, but they'll cut out 30 seconds and use that for whatever the producer decided the message was. And unfortunately, this whole idea of fake news, this term that Trump coined years ago, we're seeing, in fact, how different headlines shift. Look at the whole conflict in Israel, how the New York Times reported it versus what really happened.
Oh, yeah.
You saw anti-Semitism, you saw bias, and this causes the public to not trust the media. Therefore, there's an entryway entree into having these unfiltered, candid conversations. And that's where me with political personalities, talking to people, let's not even talk about politics. You're running for office. Let me hear about what you do for fun. Tell me a hobby about yourself. Tell me something fun or interesting about yourself. What's your family life like? What was your growing up life like? People are into that more because it comes from them. It's these people telling their own stories. So
okay, so based on all that, is it okay to ask what your who you circled in the bubble for this year?
on my ballot as a registered Democrat, I voted for both Democrats and Republicans, and I voted for every seat available on the ballot, but it was a mix.
So you crisscrossed.
Yeah.
Is that normal for you, or is this the first?
No, I was never like a straight down the line voter because I vote for a person, especially if I meet someone and I bond with them, then I want to vote for them. Policies aside, I vote for them.
Oh, so you actually vote on the person, not on the party.
Person. Correct.
And it's always been that way?
It's always been that way.
You know, for me, I voted for Democrats twice in my life.
Yeah.
Once for Mayor Adams. It's not working out too well.
We don't have to get specific because you know what bubble I'm talking about. I ain't talking about all the ones underneath the first one. Do you want to get specific on that?
Well, I voted for the candidate that I feel has been the most honest and forthright and speaks openly and candidly to the American people. That's the person I voted
because
for.
A lot of people would say, and I think I know who you're talking about, if you're talking about the male. A lot of people would say he's a blazing
There were more than one
liar.
male on the ballot, by the way.
Oh, I'm the one that we talk about. Like, come on now.
I don't know.
Who's
Say
the
his
other
name.
guy?
What's his name?
I don't have to say his
Say
name.
his name,
Thou
Naja.
shalt not speak the name of
What,
I don't play like
do
that.
your lips
I'm not
burn when
doing
you
that.
say Donald Trump?
No. So a lot of people would say this person's a categorical liar. Great reality star, great actor.
He's not a good actor.
He can tell a joke. He can tell a hell of a joke. But as far as leading the free world and having access to the red button that can nuke us all, there's some of us that are concerned about
He
that.
had it for 4 years, though.
And look what happens in the
Nothing.
world.
Peace.
Look, peace, COVID.
Well, COVID had nothing to do with the
China
nuclear
virus,
buttons.
race
But the
wars,
China virus-
inciting race riots. Come on. You can't disagree with this. We've never seen an insurrection. In how many years? I don't even know if that's
sorry.
ever happened before. So we've never seen things like that. So as a person whose rights are being affected, I'm assuming you have a uterus. I have one.
But listen.
So as a person whose rights have been affected by that, to do that, I'm not judging you because I think you're a cool girl. Like, we can go out and have Mai Tais after this. I want to know why. I would like to know why. And I'm sure you probably speak for a lot of other people out there. Why?
Not that I'm trying to avoid the topic, but people focus on the national elections too much. When it really comes down to the people that impact your day-to-day life are your local elected officials.
I say that all the
But that's
time.
not
It's
who
your
we were
council
talking about
members.
when I asked you the question. We weren't talking about the local officials. We were talking about...
But here's the deal, and I'm not going to pigeonhole you to the presidential ticket. You know why?
Right.
Because
I don't have a dog in either fight.
Yeah,
So,
I'll put it this way.
To be frank.
To be very, very frank, the American people were given two choices. They made their choice, and the majority of the country won. And this time around, I think
Majority wins, yeah.
And this time around, there's also no excuse of, but he didn't even win the popular vote because he crushed the popular vote.
Right.
So we all need to sit back and self-reflect a little bit.
Right.
Like, is he really the liar that the media has been spinning him to be? Look, I don't want to sit here and be a Trump apologist. Because,
Liars
first of all,
get really far in life.
okay.
So is he? Of course he is.
Of course.
And yes, he did win the popular vote. Absolutely. People vote in their own best interest, right? If you're a white guy, 69% of white guys voted for him. He's preserving the false notion of white supremacy. 90% of black women voted for the person that they thought would preserve them and their own legacy in their lives.
She failed to articulate that successfully.
Well, she did a lot. I don't know what you were saying, but she did do a lot of media blitzes.
But
She didn't go on with Joe Rogan. I remember Joe Rogan specifically saying, we called Kamala. I guess she didn't want to talk to him.
But Naja,
She didn't go certain places.
Everything she did was edited and clipped. I mean, I'm in this industry now. I can see something that's...
I'm also in this industry.
And you know this.
And last cycle, I had a chance to interview all of the politicians. Like, I understand that. I'm also there.
So
we got to check Naja's resume too.
No.
So we're both speaking from a very similar stance. But as a person that has vested interests in part of being the 90%, I don't have the, I serve all people, but there's no shame in my game about that. You guys could look at me and probably tell who I voted for. We could look around this room and tell.
No, we can't. You know why? I have a lot of girlfriends who look like you.
They don't look like Miss Naja, baby.
Oh, then nobody looks like Naja.
They don't look
you
like
know what?
Miss Naja.
I'll give you that. Nobody is the production. I call her. So she's saved in my phone as Naja, the production.
So to a lot of the girls out there that would say, okay, because I've seen a lot of rhetoric, why would we vote against our own interests, right? And why would we do that?
Can I just say
but
that?
Clearly you don't see that as being against your own interests.
For me, I see that my day-to-day life is impacted by my local officials.
And I agree with
and
you.
I think that the problem in this country is that no one knows who their local elected officials are.
Do you know who your local people are?
Well, yeah, I did my research and I
don't know who my local
sat down
people
with them
are
and
right
I go
now.
to some of their houses. I know who mine are. But not everybody
that's
has
wonderful.
that privilege.
Yeah.
Not everybody has that privilege.
I don't know.
I mean, you
Because
can just
that's
go
what- I
online
mean,
and type in your
because
address and
Latino.
figure out who your local
Y'all, let's not act like
person
the
is.
presidential race is not the one that's branded as the most important.
It is branded as the
branded,
most
but it's
branded
important,
and
but that
marketed
is
as
thing
the
from the
most
truth.
important.
But it's
But
the
it's
furthest thing
branding
from
and
the
marketing.
truth.
Like
Yeah.
a lot of notions that we vote for, we've been brainwashed and things have been branded and marketed to us. And now,
Oh, so you've been brainwashed to think he's a horrible person.
well, I've seen some of the things that he said. I think I would love him on this podcast.
I would,
because
too.
I think Donald Trump is funny.
Oh, she said his name.
I
You
think
got
he's funny.
that? She said his name.
I think Donald is funny. I think he's a ha 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 hearty type of guy. But as a person, like I don't think
You don't
I wouldn't
like his
take
policies.
business
I get it.
advice
I
from
get it.
him. I wouldn't.
You wouldn't? The guy built a massive empire.
with a meager $100,000 loan from his dad. Like no.
It was $1 million loan.
Oh. My daddy needs to step it up. Nathaniel, you do your job.
My daddy needs to step it up from the 10K.
Let's move on past this because I don't like to talk these issues, but I
Yeah.
do like when a woman comes to know her stance and know her views. And I do agree as far as us learning and understanding who the hell our local politicians are. So maybe you could tell the people why it's so important.
Well, it's public safety. It's garbage. It's when there's
I just read this. Please correct me if I'm wrong. We're on like how many tons of garbage do we get rid of in Manhattan per day? Is it 20 million pounds? It's a lot of garbage.
They do
Well,
it
all
by
I
the
know is that we
ton.
send it to Jersey.
It's
It's
tons
rightful
and
place.
tons. But even
It's about 12,000 tons per day.
12,000
And-
tons a day.
So and there's
And that's what, New York City or
2,000
just
pounds
Manhattan?
per ton.
Just Manhattan.
Just Manhattan, 12,000
12,000
tons.
Yeah.
That's so much.
And we send it to
So
Jersey.
that's 24,000. Okay, I can't add. How many pounds in a ton? Is it 2,000, right?
Yeah.
2,000.
Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah, it's tons and tons of garbage. But where are we putting it, right?
We should have a state. We just put the garbage in. That's what we should do. What do you have to say? God.
I think I know
Are
what
you
you're
starting
thinking,
this
but I'm
early?
not
What?
saying
What?
it.
We should have a state. Like we should just send it somewhere. Let's figure
I
this out.
think-
We
I-
can solve a major world problem right here on this podcast.
I think you're speaking from the platform. It should all just come here. I think it should all just come here at this point. Skye and I also bonded a lot over October 7th.
Yeah.
In 2023, as we know, like the literally largest mass casualty against Jews since the Holocaust, right? In a single day, over 1,000 Jews were killed by Hamas. How did that affect you as a proud Jewish woman who has no problem whatsoever wearing it on your sleeves? If I'm not mistaken, you used to wear a Star of David necklace, didn't you? At
You
one
know, I
point?
was debating whether I wear something Jewish today.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
have your microphone.
And I
see
did
you
the
have
microphone
your,
instead.
and I love
but
that.
I do. I have the word Lech Lecha tattooed right here in Hebrew.
Of course.
Yeah.
I got
But
that
I
after
don't expect you to
October.
walk in a bikini all day long. So you do wear it.
But I do. I have.
proudly
I have no
represents-
problem wearing my Jewish jewels.
Yeah.
Good for
So-
you. Good for you.
How does that square away for you till this day? Because anti-Semitism is on the rise.
Yeah, I spoke out a lot about this after October 7th and went on a few more conservative news programs to speak about my perspective because I am a registered Democrat. And what was happening was people in my own party, particularly people all the way to the left, Democratic Socialists and the like, were coming out against Israel and talking about they're making it a government issue. For me, I don't, it's not like I'm from Israel. I'm just Jewish. I don't know a lot about the government and the politics of it. But if you're going to be chanting from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free, that's getting rid of Israel. that means you hate Jews, right? They're saying, kill the Jews, kill the Jews. The Jews are killing us, kill the Jews back. This is what's happening on the streets of New York City, where I'm a taxpayer. I pay a lot of money to live in my apartment in a doorman building. And there were days when I couldn't leave the building because these protesters were right outside chanting hate speech.
Did you have any negative interactions in the streets that made you fearful?
No, I wasn't going outside. They locked the doors and I wouldn't go outside, but I wouldn't go to those marches. I don't like the protesting and marches.
Neither.
Physically
I
being there,
avoid them.
I get scared. I saw enough videos online of
You're
people
not going to put yourself in harm's way.
I don't want to. And
That's why we get along. I
don't like
this thing that they think I go towards it. No, I actually go the opposite direction
like it.
too.
And I've never been like a parade person, a march person. Like that's not me. I'll support in other ways, but I'm not gonna like put physically.
Hence, I was not there on January 6th. I'm not a crowd person. It's just not my thing.
A good workout.
It's just not my thing. Like the whole rebel rouser kind of situation.
Yeah.
But how do you square away today? Like, I mean, I did see some of your hits when you went on TV.
Mm-hmm.
I always question myself, like, why are you on Fox News and why didn't you go to, like, I don't know, NBC, MSNBC?
They reached out to me. It's not like I was sitting there pitching myself. They reached out to me.
Interesting. So, and other networks never did. The topic was just inconvenient to be broached, I guess.
I don't know. They didn't reach out to me.
Okay, that's fair.
These are the ones that reach out to me. So
That's
I
fair.
went.
And you went.
Yeah.
And you did a great job, and I thought you were very simple. It's an issue. It's a nonpartisan issue.
It's a nonpartisan
It's a totally
issue.
nonpartisan. It's a humanitarian issue.
Yeah, it's a humanitarian
I
issue.
try to. I look at it this way. I'm Jewish, but
Hey, we need more people to be Jewish. We
you
need
know,
all the support we can get.
You definitely said that.
so I look at it this way. I think we totally need to have these conversations, as uncomfortable as they are.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think racism or discriminatory anything is acceptable. And I'll stand up for anybody who's being discriminated against, no matter what race, religion, creed, you name it. My only issue is that it seems like it's like all outrage until the topic is anti-Semitism, and then people start pussyfooting around the topic. And I'm like, wait, is anti-Semitism cool? Is that like the one ism that
hatred is not cool.
That is you get what I'm saying? Like it's crazy to me.
A despicable thing.
Like I don't think racism against any race should be acceptable.
Because that's what it is. It's against one particular group. How do you navigate that in the world that you're in, speaking on interpersonal relationships, watching your friends not, and I'm air quotes for those of you that aren't listening, picking a side? Did you expect them to pick a side or to speak out or say something?
You know, it really has been difficult. There's been a few people that were friends. I have their numbers. I've done videos with them that have come out anti-Israel.
Really?
And it's been really challenging. Like, I wish that they could see it a different way. You know, when I've approached them about it, they start going into the government side of it. And I say that it's not about the government. It's just, if you're anti-Israel, then it makes Jews feel unsafe. And then if you're supportive of these rallies that are going on, then you're siding with them. And it got to the point where it was like, how could I even consider myself a Democrat? I'm in the same party as you, and we're so opposite on the issue here.
But it's not a issue across the entire party.
No, it's
in
not
defense
an
of
issue
Democrats,
across the
right?
entire, it's not.
I think the
There's a few
Democrats need a
people
rescue mission,
in a faction of the party that feel this way,
which is the loudest.
For interpersonal reasons, do you expect the people that you define as friends, do you expect them to speak up and say something? Because I know how I would feel if there was something that was so passionate and affecting my people. Do you expect them to say something? Or are you cool with people just saying, I'm going to stay in the middle of the road and ride the fence, or I don't want to ruffle any feathers? What's your stance on that?
I think people should say something. For someone to say, like, I'm not getting involved,
that's a statement. That's a position.
I know, right?
That is a position.
What's the quote? Like, silence is louder than...
Well, silence is deafening, or silence is consent.
Yeah, like...
Right? I mean,
there's a better quote about that. Something
when you
like
say
that.
I'm not taking a position, you've just taken the worst position you could have taken.
Do you expect all people to take a position?
I expect everybody to take a position on something so egregious, yes.
On issues that are important to you, that center your world? Because there's a lot of people that the issues that she's talking about, they don't know. It's crazy. As big as this issue is, there's a lot of people that have no clue what's going on. Or they would say they don't have a dog in this fight, which is one of my favorite lines.
I think we all have a dog in the fight. Do you know why?
Why?
Because where do their rights start and yours end before it becomes now we're going to pivot to racism against Black people,
Right.
That's
or
never been
racism against Asians,
Right.
or racism against
A
Latinos.
lot of people would
Right.
say it's not the same, especially if you're a person
I think it's
that's
the
in
same.
it. She
Racism
can't
is
say
racism.
anti-Semitism is the same as anti-Blackness. I can't say anti-Blackness is the same. Like, we have two completely
No,
different
I understand that,
experiences.
but what I'm trying to say is when you start allowing people to say, I don't have a dog in the fight, you're essentially opening a door for them to do the same thing in the opposite. We fought way too hard in this country to go backwards. Martin Luther King gave his life, and I actually had the distinct pleasure and honor of meeting his son on election night this year, Martin Luther King III. Although we completely disagreed on everything we were talking about, it was an honor. It was
yes.
it was such
I've met
a
him,
cool
and he is an amazing
experience.
human being.
As I think in Hebrew we would say he's a mensch, total mensch, like really nice guy. Like, I mean, look, I'm a big fan of Martin Luther King's story, and I think when you take into consideration what that man gave up, he essentially gave the ultimate sacrifice. He gave his life for what he
They
believed
took his
in.
life. He didn't willingly volunteer and give it, but
he
yeah.
knew what
I see what you're saying.
He knew that he was putting his life on the line, and he
Yes.
didn't take a step back. He didn't miss a heartbeat. You know what I mean?
Speaking of that, do you feel, because doing what you do, you can ruffle a lot of feathers. You do it in style and in fashion, but sometimes you have to go there. Are there any instances where you felt unsafe or where you're like, this might be a little bit too much for me?
I mean, even this whole like anti-Semitism issue, that was really one of the only times I've really come forward and expressed how I felt, especially about a national issue, because
Yeah.
most of the work that I do is local. And as far as like my personality style and my interview style, it really doesn't ruffle feathers because it's usually neutral. It's usually more human interest and personality as opposed to asking like, why did you vote a certain way on a certain policy, or like
Which
where,
I just did to you. I'm sorry.
No.
Should I apologize?
No.
Oh.
I mean, usually I'm the one
I
asking
like to
the
apologize
question.
publicly
So.
if I offend
No,
somebody
you didn't
publicly.
offend
You
me.
apologize
No, it's
publicly.
Hon, if
good.
you offend her, I would have tripped off a long time ago.
If we were talking more about politics and religion, these two topics as a society more together and colloquially, would we be in the debacle that we're in right now as a country?
Oh, that's a good question.
We completely disagree on politics, but in a
But you
very
can
short
get along.
time doing this program, doing this show with her, I adore her. She respects my takes, doesn't agree with it. I respect
Right.
hers.
Exactly.
I didn't agree with it. We find
I
common
know
ground on a lot of stuff.
inherently he does not feel that he is directly voting against my best interests and the best interests of Black people and Black women. He does not feel
I have
that.
a Black dad, and he was okay voting for Trump.
We gotta see this Black dad because you've
Now
mentioned him
your
on every
dad's
episode.
Black.
Oh, but that's
Barone, can we find a picture?
Yes,
Barone, can
I'm
we find
pulling
a
it
picture?
up.
George,
Yep.
since when is your dad Black?
Since I was born. It's on my Instagram. I have a biracial family makeup, but I'm pulling it up. I'm done with this. Slanders and salacious
I
lies.
don't have anything to say.
Slander and salacious lies.
He is
Blackish.
Blackish.
No,
Blackish.
the guy's black. He's Afro-Brazilian. My grandparents are from Angola.
Okay.
Jesus.
We can post a picture on the screen. We don't have to like scroll.
Oh no! But I'm scrolling for the
You're
sense
really
of
multiracial,
I mean, his
multi-ethnic, George.
his skin is on the darker side.
yeah. My dad's Afro-Brazilian. That's the correct term.
Okay.
Afro-Brazilian.
Yeah,
That's
well,
what it
that's
says.
that's the correct term. Yeah. That's,
Hey, and for the record, Skye asked to clear it up. I was going to ask off camera, but Skye asked. So since she asked,
she said, "Is your dad's black? Since when is your dad black?" Well, I guess since I came out of his, you know what. But there's my dad,
let me see.
and I look just like him too, which is a scary part.
You have the same eyes. He could be South Asian.
No,
Here, Skye, here.
that's my dad.
Just for reference, Afro-Brazilians are an ethno-racial group consisting of Brazilians predominantly or total
He's a-
sub-Saharan African ancestry.
He's a good-looking
There you
guy.
go.
Boom, bitches.
But there was
Do
a
you
lot.
consider yourself Black?
No, I never. I could never. I mean, imagine if
And
I
I
all
was
of a
looking at-
sudden
I was-
turned around and said, "I'm half black."
I'm looking at his picture, and that was one grainy photo.
It's not one grainy photo. It's on Instagram. I mean, I can't FaceTime him now.
Let me
He
see it
works.
again.
My father actually works for a living. He's a union worker. Pretty sure if I call him now, he'll be covered in paint somewhere in Manhattan.
So he's from Brazil.
Yes, he's brasileiro, as we say it.
He has some African somewhere in him.
Of course, my grandparents are Angolan.
Angola is
In Africa.
Hence the term.
but there's a
Afro-Brazilian.
wide array
You
of
got
people
it.
that are Angolan, and they have. I mean, you're,
Well,
we know
Angola
what-
was a province of Portugal, so there's
Right.
a lot of very white.
So we
fair
know
skin.
the colonizers
Teresa
came
Hines,
over and
John
did what
Kerry's
they did.
wife. She's Angolan. She's the whitest
I would
lady
say
you'll
he's
ever
a
meet.
mixed guy. I would say he's mixed, but
Well,
does
he
he?
is.
But how does he identify? Because you have to call people by what they identify.
Black.
Okay, we're gonna put the picture up on our Instagram.
And
We
we'll
have
let-
to put the picture. And
You know what?
guys
Let them
can-
decide.
We will let you guys decide. And does he have a 23andMe or something? Do we have results?
Well, I have my 23andMe. I'm 15% African.
15%, but your dad is 50%. Math ain't math. Something got lost in the sauce. The math ain't mathing.
What do you mean?
Are you a mixed black boy?
I'm 70.
What type of music do you listen to? We'll solve this. What did your grandma cook
Give
on
me a
Thanksgiving?
second. Hold on. All my grandmas are deceased.
When they were alive.
Well, I didn't interact with them. I live here. I grew up here. They're
You're
abroad.
mixed. You're a mixed person.
I'm a very mixed person. I'm 76% European, right?
You see what you opened up? You see
Yeah,
what
but
you
is
started,
it-
Skye? You see what you did?
Yeah.
It's the George show.
I'm
We're going to
76%.
post a picture of his father online, and then we're going to break this down because I'm curious. I'm sure a lot of you are curious. Skye opened this up.
Oh,
You
sorry.
know, I wish you could call him right now, but it's okay. We can move on past this
On
question.
that note, 2 truths and a lie.
Did you tell Skye?
I
about-
didn't. I completely forgot.
No.
It's totally on me.
Okay.
You have to now tell us.
Okay.
2 truths and a lie. And we need to figure out what the lie is. But do me a favor, don't make it too easy for me. I keep beating her episode
every
after
time.
episode.
He
Wait,
beats my
2 truths and a lie?
Yeah.
All right.
And that shows how gullible I'm trying not to be because I just believe all of the lies.
I'm good at sussing out. I'm good at sussing out the lie.
Why are you so good at that?
I mean, pants on fire.
All right, I got it.
Let's go.
It's animal related.
I'm not going to
That's
look at her. Okay.
Totally fine.
Okay, ready?
Let me hear
2
it.
truths and a lie. I grew up with pet goats and emus. I grew up with pet ostriches and llamas. My neighbor growing up had a kangaroo that had to get deported.
Where the hell did you grow up, girl?
I know where
did
you grew up.
Like,
I grew up in Syosset.
She
on
grew
Long
up in
Island.
Syosset, Long Island.
I was like,
It could be weird.
Syosset is very weird.
Okay.
I will say that. The kangaroo story is probably true because I
How did you
oddly
get a
think
kangaroo?
I've read this before that there was a kangaroo deported from New York. So I'm literally thinking that that's actually true.
I got nothing. I got nothing.
You did not grow up with ostriches. That's a lie.
Because they're tall.
Yeah, ostriches need
Right.
a lot of space, and the Syosset is not known for having major land. So it's
Why is
one
nobody
of the most
focusing on the llama?
because
why is
there's
nobody-
alpacas and llamas upstate New York galore. So I
Okay,
can see her
okay.
having a spitting animal that spits on people.
Okay.
So the ostrich is the lie.
Correct.
Boom! I am so good at this.
But that means that my neighbor did have the kangaroo
I
that got
know. I
deported.
think I read that
And
somewhere.
it means that I did grow up with pet goats and emus.
Yeah.
Where
they-
did you get an emu?
and they were
Why?
offensive.
Emus are smaller ostriches, essentially.
They still grow to be 6 feet tall, but they're,
But they're a lot
smaller.
smaller.
Why did you grow up with emu?
How'd you have emus in Syosset?
we weren't allowed to have goats. We weren't allowed to have cats or dogs in the house. That was the rule with my parents. So we were allowed to have any animal we wanted outside.
How did you put, how big
My
of a
dad-
yard did you, no, how big of
We
a,
had 3 acres.
okay, fair.
Okay.
That's pretty
And we
big.
built a fenced-in area, and we had 2 goats and 2 emus.
Do emus live outside?
They do, yeah. They're
Is
like
the-
ostriches, but smaller.
Is the plural for emus, or is it emu? Which
No, it's emus.
it's emus. Because
Yeah.
I wanted to make sure I was saying
Yeah.
it right.
yeah.
Yeah.
Where'd you get an emu in New York?
From Vermont. My dad went online and he found in
hatchery?
Vermont there was a woman selling emu eggs, emu oil, emu meat,
Can you
and
eat the eggs?
emus.
Yes, they're really
Did you
good.
guys eat the eggs? I've read about that.
So the story goes in Syosset, we lived on a cul-de-sac. We had these emus, and like all the kids in the neighborhood came over to see the emus and see the goats. And my dad made a big barbecue for everyone. And then while we were eating these hamburgers, my dad announced to everyone that it was emu meat. Not our emus, but like fresh emu meat that the woman drove down when she gave us the emus. But you can eat it just like you have an ostrich burger, emu
I love
burger.
ostrich.
It's
I love
poultry, it's considered red meat. It's not poultry. It's red meat.
It is red meat.
And
Ostrich
it's
is
very
really good.
lean.
Yeah.
It's very lean. And
ostrich is something we
really
consume
good.
in my house.
But we had these 2 emus, and funny story. So like everyone knew we had the emus. And then one day, Bree and I, my sister and I, we were at day camp, and one of the emus got out of the fenced-in area. And
everybody knew to bring it back to you.
And then my mom said she got a call from the police in Nassau County, and they said, like, Ms. Ostreicher, I put my officers on shoot to kill because if this bird crosses Northern Boulevard and kills someone, you're liable. So my officers, that's the order, shoot to kill. So my mom went out with other women in the neighborhood with those pool noodles, like the neon pool noodles, and they like went like this, and they corralled the emu back into the fenced-in area.
I've been really good at sussing out all these 2 truths and a lie.
Yeah, you were good at it.
I have 100%
is.
track record.
Wow.
I gotta take you to court with me.
You know what? I'll end with this before I say thank you for coming. Is I am considering going to law school. I don't know if I will, but I am considering doing it.
Wow.
So imagine. And then somebody asked me yesterday, what kind of law would you want to do? Constitutional. I would only want to try cases in front of the Supreme Court.
Wow.
Look, this was lovely. I wanted to say thank you. Seriously, thank you, because I admire you. You are, to me, you're a superstar because what you've built and the education that you bring with what you've built is so impressive and useful. I wish there were 10 more Skye Ostreichers out there, or simply put, Skye.
Thank you, George.
Thank you for coming here. Thank you for being on Pants on Fire with us today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Nice to meet you.
Likewise.
That was a lot.
Listen.
It was a lot.
I know she's your friend.
I love
her. Right. You know her, you love her. I don't know her. Perhaps I will get to know her. But I don't like to take the things political, but it just seems like we can't avoid going there. I was very curious, but I like how she fashionably skirted around directly answering the question.
Like a Chanel suit.
She Chanel skirted around it but we know in a way that we know. I still like her, the person that I thought she was before, like scrolling her Instagram, but it's always very different experiencing a person, hearing their views, and listening to their whys.
You know what? I'll just say this. She's so authentic. She's so raw and real. Mm-hmm. You can't help yourself but love her. I think she's so lovable and likable.
She's very likable,
even
for sure.
if you disagree with one of her points, you're just like, all right, girl, cool. And you move on.
Period.
Because she's nice about it. She's just like, this is my opinion. Look, politics is divisive. Nobody fucking gets along anymore. Can we at least try?
Can we all just...
Can we try?
Famous words of the Mr. Rodney King. Can't we all just get along? And the answer to that sometimes is hell no, we cannot. Because people are putting things on platforms. People are lying pants on firing. People are claiming
allegedly.
to be... Allegedly. People are Jewish and blackish and orangish. And close your mouth.
Oh my God.
Close your mouth. Skye is malleable. She's flexible. And she's a woman that's a thinker on her own.
I think she's probably going to run for office eventually. I
could see it.
It's inevitable for her.
I could see it.
Yeah.
I could see it. I don't see why not. I mean,
Inevitable.
hell,
She has everything going for her.
you can run for office in this country. You have
Girl,
a TV show. You can run for office.
You can run for office eventually.
Why are you saying it like that?
Because I'm saying you can.
Don't say it like it's a thing that's a surprise.
No, I'm saying
I'm the most
you.
likely to do it, actually.
Girl, I've done it. I've been there. I've already done hers is. So don't even come at me like that. But you can do it. And can I be very straight with you? I think you want to do it. It's a matter of when.
I have no desire. And I never wanted to marry a pastor. I never wanted to do anything with political. I don't want to do that.
Anyway, this was another week of Pants on Fire. And bye, Jan.
You're an asshole.
Light, pants on fire.